important conversation about Social Security. ARP is committed to protecting Social Security for today and future generations, and that's why we're here today. This town hall is the fourth in a series that we've been holding around the country with our partners from the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Big long name, National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. And over the past few months, we've held discussions in Richmond, Virginia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lansing, Michigan, and there's one more to come in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We believe it's especially important to be holding this conversation here in Las Vegas. Nevada has over 565,000 Social Security beneficiaries, including over 30,000 children. And something important that many people don't realize is that Social Security benefits provide $9 billion, that's $9 billion with a B, each year to Nevada's economy. Welcome all of you, and now from a few words from our co-sponsor. Max?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Maria. You hear me all right? Yes. Good evening. I'm Max Richmond. I'm the president and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. We're a national grassroots advocacy group. We do just what our name says, preserve Social Security and Medicare. We were established 40 years ago by a man who had been a congressman from California, had retired. His name was James Roosevelt. And he created our organization about 40 years ago to preserve what he felt was his father's greatest legacy, and his father was President Roosevelt. And we've been doing just what he wanted us to do all these 40 years. I'm going to be on the panel, but I'm also have the honor to introduce our moderator. You know, I've heard a lot of introductions where people say this person I'm going to introduce doesn't need an introduction. In this case, it's really true. Our moderator, you've seen him around, you've seen him here locally, you've seen him on television. John Ralston, founder and CEO of the Nevada Independent, has been covering politics for more than 30 years. His blog, Ralston Reports, started about 11 years ago and is on the Nevada Independent website. And I just met him in person tonight, but I feel, John, like I've known you because I've seen you on MSNBC, I've seen you on Meet the Press, and I've been very impressed with you, and it's an honor to have you to be our moderator. So I'm going to ask John to come program. We had a meeting, a Zoom meeting, with our panelists and our ARP colleagues and John on Monday. And at one point, it was about a 30-minute meeting. I felt like it was not about this program, it was about the John Ralston fan club, because everybody knew him and respected him, and we're very grateful to have you do this and be with us, John.
Hi, everybody. That was a really nice introduction by Max. Usually when people are on a panel, I'm moderating, do a nice introduction. That's just kind of like a, okay, quid pro quo, be nice to me too. It's not going to work with me, Max, so forget that. I actually am very impressed, I have to be honest with you, at the turnout here tonight. This is great that all of you care so much about this very important issue, that you're willing to come out on a Thursday night and miss football too, right? So I have covered politics for a long time before I started the Indy, and I've covered this issue a lot, Medicare and Social Security, but a couple months ago, I turned 64. So I'm starting to look at this issue a little differently these days. So I'm as interested in what these folks have to say as you guys are out in the audience. And be sure that you're going to be able to ask them questions. You may think you know a lot about Social Security, but there are a few things about the program you don't know, and I want to tell you a few of them. Social Security is not just a retirement program. It's what's known as a contributory social insurance program intended to provide financial support to families after the loss of the family breadwinner through retirement, disability, or death. Every American worker contributes to the program with each and every paycheck through what is known as FICA taxes. We all know that line, don't we? Federal Insurance Contributions Act. To give you a better idea, though, of why this forum is being held, I'm going to play a short video for you now about Social Security. Here today, here tomorrow campaign.
Without Social Security, I couldn't pay my bills.
If it weren't for my Social Security benefits, I'd be out on the street.
Thank God for Social Security.
Social Security is going bankrupt.
Social Security won't be there when I need it.
Politicians are stealing from Social Security.
When should I claim benefits?
How much will my monthly benefit be?
What will my husband and children receive?
Can I collect Social Security if I'm still working?
For more information, visit socialsecurityheretoday.org.
Hey, Max, if they can just go to that website, why do we need to have this forum? I'm kidding. No one gets me. No one get you. You have to lighten up a forum like this, don't you? I mean, come on.
John, that's really a good question, and we have the ability here to answer questions,
Of course, I know that, Max.
and that's what this is all
Of course.
about.
As I said, nobody gets me. So before I introduce our panel, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. First, on behalf of the National Committee and AARP Nevada, I'd like to express our gratitude to our hosts at this great East Las Vegas Community Center. This town hall could not have been held without their help, so give them a round of applause too. If all of your questions are not answered tonight by this amazing group of experts that we have assembled, we also have a couple of representatives from Senator Catherine Cortez Masto and Congresswoman Dina Titus who are here. I'm going to tell you their names, and I'm going to say, since we are in Vegas, I'm going to give you some odds. They are about 50-1 against me saying both of these names correctly. Well, we have Delisa Galamidi with Senator Cortez Masto. Are you, there she is. Did I come close? Oh, awesome. I get the thumbs up. And Ervin Tahirovic. I think he's outside, but he is also here from Dina Titus's office to answer your questions. They'll answer as many questions as they can. And in fact, Delisa told me she will be here all night if need be, right? You too, Ervin, right? You'll be here all night. See? Dedication, folks. So I want to also draw your attention to the cards that were left in your seats. Do y'all see the cards that you have there? Write your name and questions you'd like to ask our speakers. And once you've written your questions, just pass them down to the aisle to one of the National Committee or AARP Nevada staff. And after our speakers finish, they'll try to answer as many questions as time permits. So let's get on to the main event. Let me introduce our panel real quickly. First, right here, closest to me is Annie Walters. She's a public affairs specialist for the Social Security Administration in Nevada. Annie's worked with SSA for over 2 decades. You don't look, really? Since you were 4 or something? Okay. Today she educates employees of the largest companies and government agencies throughout Nevada on Social Security benefits. Carolyn Colvin was President Obama's acting commissioner of Social Security during his administration. As Social Security Commissioner, Carolyn oversaw one of the largest agencies in the federal government, more than 60,000 federal employees nationwide. During Carolyn's tenure, her agency paid more than $800 billion each year in monthly Social Security benefits to more than 60 million recipients. We've already met Max Richmond. He's president and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. They're one of the nation's leading advocates for Social Security and Medicare. Max is a prominent expert on seniors issues and a former staff director of the U.S. Senate Special Committee on Aging. This is really an all-star panel. Give them a round of applause, please. So now that I've pumped you up, you better not disappoint these folks, right? Okay, let's start with Annie. And Annie, the floor is yours. You want to come up here or you want to do it from there?
I can do it from here.
Okay,
Absolutely.
then I don't have to move. That's better.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
just
good.
hang on. Let's all hang out together.
Okay.
So just wanted to, thank AARP and NCPSS for inviting Social Security to be here. And I am the only federal agent that represents Social Security at this forum at this point in time. I'm not sure if there's any other federal employees here or anything, but we have our formal acting commissioner. I'm so glad to finally meet her face to face. I've seen a bunch of videos and lots of things that she's done for us in the past when she was with Social Security. So I'm excited to be here to meet her. So I can actually answer some of the questions. As a public affairs specialist, that is what I do. I teach people about all the different benefits that Social Security has to offer so they have a better understanding of it. Granted, you know a little bit about Social Security, okay, but it can be a little bit convoluted or might seem really complicated. We have a lot of publications, readers, to make sure that you guys have an understanding of it. Don't forget your tax dollar goes towards this, okay? So we work for the American people so that you can have an understanding of it, and we want to be able to pay the benefits that are due to you. So in terms of like those questions that were asked in the video, they're very great questions. What will I receive my benefits? Make sure you log online at www.ssa.gov. These statements are available online at the tip of your fingers so you can see what is going on, what can I plan for. You could be 50 years old, you could be 18 years old. We give presentations to individuals from 18 on so they have a better understanding of what to expect. We talk about survivors' benefits, disability benefits, things that you don't expect in your life, and that can happen at any point in time. So as a public affairs specialist, that is what I do, okay? So just kind of want to give you a better sense of it, but in my tenure in 20 years that I did this, I actually was a technician. I processed all the retirement, disability claims, survivors claim that came through before I actually became a public affairs specialist. So with that said, I did have a booth earlier with those that had questions. I was able to answer it. But if your questions are not answered today, I have a bunch of pamphlets and information that's available at the far corner of this room. And you'll be able to gather some Social Security information at the main room where we were at gathering for early dinner. So with that said, I'm actually going to, we're going to watch another video. It's a quick one. It's our current acting commissioner, Kilolo Kijakazi. She has a message for us today, and I just wanted to make sure we got an opportunity to play that.
In 2023, an average of almost 67 million Americans per month are receiving a Social Security benefit. A total of about $1.4 trillion in benefits will be paid during the year. I know many are worried about the future of Social Security's finances, so let me clear up one misunderstanding. Social Security will be there for you, your children, and your grandchildren too. As stated in our latest trustees report, the combined trust funds are projected to become depleted in 2034 if Congress takes no action. This does not mean Social Security benefits would end in 2034. It means that if no action is taken, there would be sufficient continuing payroll contributions to pay 80% of scheduled benefits. Of course, we would rather have 100%, and the trustees recommend that Congress address the projected shortfalls in a timely fashion to phase in necessary changes. With timely legislative action, Social Security can continue to pay 100% of scheduled benefits. Thank you for taking time to be part of this town hall and educating your friends and family, especially younger generations, about the value of Social Security. Take care.
Thank you, everyone, for getting the opportunity to watch that video, and I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Carolyn, you are up.
Good evening. I'm so pleased to be here with you, and I'm excited to see so many of you out tonight. I'm going to focus my comments on the importance of Social Security for women and for people of color. Specifically tonight, I'll talk about the value to African Americans and to Latinos. I think that we know that Social Security is important to all Americans, but there are specific populations that benefit somewhat more than others. Let me give you a few facts that will help you understand the discussion. One, women tend to live longer than men, but they tend to earn less during their work years. So this increases the risk that women may not be ready for retirement, that they may outlive their savings. Second, women are more likely to work in jobs with lower pay than men. And of course, the calculations to determine your benefits are based on your earnings, how much you earn, and we calculate that into a 35-year period. If you don't have earnings for some years, then zero is put there. Women are more likely to work in jobs with lower pay than men. Women are more likely to work part-time. Again, their earnings then will be less. And women are more likely to take time out of the workforce to care for children and other family members. Overall, women still, even today, earn less than men for the same jobs. On average, women working full-time are paid about 84% of what men are paid. And this is even greater for African American and Latino women. Finally, women are less likely to have traditional employer pensions. Traditional pensions are disappearing anyway, but women are more likely to have them than other groups. And because of the types of jobs that they have, women tend, again, to have smaller pensions when they do have pensions. So I wanted to share that because in a minute I'm going to tell you why Social Security is particularly beneficial to women because of those circumstances I've just identified. And African American and Latinos have some of the same challenges. You have low earnings on lower than some other populations. You have less opportunity to save and earn a pension. You have higher rates of poverty while working, and you're less likely to have workplace retirement plans. You're more likely to work in low-paid jobs, thus, again, inability to save, and higher disability rates than other who have higher earnings. And there's only one distinction between the African Americans and Latinos that I'm talking about in this discussion. I found an interesting piece of information. Blacks are more likely to die before retirement age. Latinos have a much longer life expectancy. So they do have an opportunity to receive their benefit longer, their retirement benefit longer than some other groups. Now, the reason that is so important is because a woman who works will have earnings on her own benefit. And of course, all those things that I mentioned mean that her earnings will be less. But one of the good things for women is that they can become eligible for earnings on their spouse's benefit. So they are eligible to get disability on their own earnings, and they're able to get retirement on their own earnings. However, if their spouse should experience a early disability, the children and even the spouse may be eligible. If there is a premature death, of course, a woman is eligible for her husband's benefit, which is likely to be higher than her own. Now, for those who are in the other category that I talked about, persons of color, you will have a situation where, again, because of the low wages, they benefit from Social Security because Social Security has a progressive system where you get a higher rate of your earnings in retirement years because your wages are lower. And that benefits those individuals who have a lower rate. So I wanted to point that out. One of the things that I think is significant is that many women don't understand that they're eligible for their former husband's benefits should they divorce, as long as they don't remarry. So it doesn't matter how many wives or how many husbands the individual has had. If that individual dies, those individuals are eligible. And I'm surprised that so many women that I come in contact with don't seem to realize that they are eligible even though they were no longer married, as long as they were married at least 10 years. And it has to be 10 consecutive years. So when I run into someone who just wants to walk out the door and they've been married 9 years, I say, go to the hotel for a year. But that's important. And then the survivor benefit, because people think that Social Security is just a retirement benefit, but the survivor benefit is particularly important because all minor children are eligible for the survivor benefit as well as the surviving spouse. So I think I want to pause there and I'll elaborate as I answer questions.
Sounds great. Thank you, Carolyn. I'm going to let Max get started in a second, but let me just remind everybody that after Max is done, we're going to do some questions. I'll ask a couple questions, but we really want to get to your questions. I already have a few from the audience. You have those cards there. Maria is standing there. Go give her your cards or signal it to her or wave at her, and she will take your card and they'll get them to me, and we'll try to, answer as many as we can. And if we don't get to all of them, you can just grab them afterwards. So, Max, you are up.
Thank you, John. You all should, I hope, appreciate the fact that the former head of Social Security is here. That this is one of the largest departments in the U.S. government. How many employees? 60,000?
65.
65,000, and she ran it, the whole thing. It's a pretty big deal. Appointed by President Obama. My role here is to try to debunk all of the myths, misunderstandings about Social Security. And the reason that's important is when people start to believe some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you is not true, the support for the program is undermined. And that would be wrong. That would be a shame. Right now, There's support 80, 90% among Democrats, Republicans, independents for the Social Security program. But some of these myths that have been out there for decades, I think have begun to undermine that kind of support. And John, how old did you say you were?
That's a pretty personal question, Max, if you didn't catch it the first time. I just turned 64.
64. So this is very important for a young person like John, because young people are the ones that are most susceptible to these misunderstandings. And I'm sure you've heard this, John. There are younger people who feel they're more likely to see a UFO than to get a Social Security check, or more likely to see Bigfoot than to get a Social Security check. And that is wrong. And the reason a lot of the younger folks have these misconceptions is the myths that have been perpetuated for such a long time are starting to take hold. And you've heard them. I'll go through a few of them quickly and then deal with your questions. Social Security's broke, bankrupt. You heard that? Not true. Social Security has a reserve by design built into the program to build up what's called a trust fund of almost $3 trillion. And that was done because we now have the baby boomers entering retirement for a couple of years now, and that money will be drawn down and used to pay benefits. The only way Social Security could be broke, bankrupt, no money there, is if nobody was working and nobody was paying payroll taxes. And that's obviously not going to happen. There is a long-term problem with Social Security that the Congress, the president, needs to address. In 10 years, that trust fund, that $3 trillion, will be drawn down, and there will be a cut of 20% in benefits. We need to fix that. The Congress, the president, advocacy groups like the AARP, the Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, we need to deal with that, because that kind of a cut, I'm sure you would agree, having 20% of your Social Security reduced is just not acceptable. And I think most members of Congress realize that it's not acceptable. So but that is very different, I think, from saying the program is broke. There's no program there. We need to start from scratch. Fixing that is a huge challenge. It's not the same as creating the program from scratch. There's no money there. Bunch of worthless IOUs. These aren't little scraps of paper with John Ralston's name on there. These are government bonds. That $3 trillion that has been built up since the early 80s by design, it is backed up by U.S. government bonds, all right? Not the best interest, but the safest investment possible. And, you know, I tried to explain this once to a group like this. It was in California. And I said, at that point, there was $2.5 trillion in the trust fund. And I said, you wouldn't want, you want to invest that money. You want it to earn interest. You don't want it, there's no cash there. And I frankly think, you know, President Bush, George W. Bush did a great disservice when he started to travel around the country doing town hall meetings to privatize Social Security. And he went to some vault in West Virginia and said there's no cash there. Well, of course, you wouldn't want trillions of dollars in cash. You want to invest it in government bonds. It earns interest. It's as I said, not the highest rate, but the safest investment possible. And it's real. And again, a story to explain how it's real. In the beginning of the pandemic, huge unemployment, not enough money came in to pay full benefits, but everybody got their benefits. Why? The trust fund was there to back up that loss of revenue from all of that unemployment that we suffered from. And in fact, during that period, not only everybody got their benefits, but the size of the trust fund grew because there's interest on these government bonds. It's very important. And I hope some of this information, I'm sure a group like this is going to go to town hall meetings, campaign events. You're going to listen to members of the House, the Senate, challengers, people running for those offices. And, it's important that you address them with the full knowledge of what the Social Security program is all about and how it works. A couple of other quick myths. We need to cut Social Security because of our debt. No, we don't. Social Security didn't create the debt. Social Security has a surplus, and it shouldn't be used as an excuse to cut Social Security because it has nothing to do with the federal debt. That's an important point. Social Security is an entitlement. You probably heard that. It's not an entitlement. It's an earned benefit. You know, when you're working, you have your FICA. John mentioned FICA, Federal Insurance Contribution Act, pays for old age, survivor, and disability benefits. It's an earned benefit. You pay for it while you're working, and you get those benefits when you qualify. And here's a point that I think is especially important to younger people like you, John.
Keep talking this way, Max.
Yeah. Yes, Social Security is for retirees, but it's for families. What does FICA stand for? As I said, Federal Insurance Contribution Act funds old age, survivor, and disability programs. If you are a 27-year-old worker with a spouse and 2 children, you have right now almost $2 million in value of life and disability insurance if something bad happens in the family and someone is going to say to you, you should check out Social Security. It's there to help. This is insurance for families, and younger people as well as retirees have a stake in fixing it. We should raise the retirement age, right? Because people are living longer. Just the fact that people are living longer doesn't mean they can work longer. Where are all these jobs for older people? I don't see them. And a lot of people that talk about, back in Washington, we should raise the retirement age because people are living longer. They don't do the kinds of jobs where you can't keep working and working and working. You're working in a factory, in an assembly line. You can't just keep working. And you know that, and I'm trying to impress that to my friends in Washington. 2 last myths. Undocumented immigrants are draining the Social Security program. I hear that everywhere. Not true. There are, in fact, just the opposite is true. There are cases, many cases, where undocumented immigrants will get a phony card, a Social Security number, to get a job. They pay benefits, their employer pays benefits, but guess what? They can't collect because they don't have a legitimate number. The study was done a couple years ago where $12 billion more, went into the program because of what I just talked about than was paid out in any benefits, because these folks can't collect benefits if they don't have a real legitimate number. Last myth, members of Congress don't pay Social Security. Not true. Members of Congress do pay Social Security and have been doing so for, the law changed about 40 years ago. They've been paying into Social Security. So I'm passing on this information because it's important that when you talk to your friends, when you talk to people running for office, that you have the ability and the knowledge to respond to some of these misunderstandings and try to set the record straight. So that's my speech.
Max, you covered a lot there.
Yep.
It's very impressive, yeah. Maria is the boss, and Maria, you want everyone out by 7:30, am I right? Is that right? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I got a few questions I'm asking. Now my request not comes from you, although you can still give your questions to Maria, but from the panelists. Let's keep the answers brief. Okay, Max, I'm looking at you. Okay, all right. So let's let's start with Annie. This is on everyone's mind now. Anyone who is reading what's going on in this country knows that they're on a precipice of a government shutdown. It could happen by this weekend. It's not looking good. People always worry during a shutdown, how am I going to get my benefits? What's the answer?
So this is a priority of the agency, right? And what we do is that we actually have a contingency plan. And part of the contingency plan is that we have to pay American people, okay? So if you want to look in detail, that plan has everything that's laid out for us to make sure that the payments do go out, okay? So rest assured.
That's a kind of brief answer and to the point that I like. Well done, Annie. Okay. Carolyn, let me ask you about this. Max went through a lot of the myths, and he covered a lot of ground there. But did he miss anything? Are there questions that you got when you were there that maybe you still get from just ordinary folks asking questions that you get over and over again? You have to reassure people, explain people. What are those? Are there any?
Well, I think the question that I get most asked, and I still get that today, is can I draw my benefits early? And that's a very personal question. I explained to them that everyone's circumstance is different. If they should begin to get their Social Security benefit early, they're going to always have a decreased benefit, probably about 30%. But at the same time, they need to look at what their current economic situation is. They need to look at what their health issues are and their life expectancy and make a personal decision. I would urge everyone to go to ssa.gov and set up a My Social Security account where you can go in and get calculations, estimates of what your benefits are. The other question I get all the time is, will my Social Security be reduced? You know, how am I going to live? I'm not getting enough now. What's going to happen? And I don't always know how to answer that question, but I have faith that Congress will do the right thing. And I say to them, I do not expect that the benefit will be reduced.
That's great. Max, you mentioned a lot of the myths, and some people think, oh, Social Security is about to go under, you know, that's not real money, all the rest of it. But you essentially acknowledge that there will be a problem maybe in 10 years or so, and Congress has to solve this problem. If I'm following even vaguely what's going on in Washington, D.C., the Republicans won't even eat lunch with the Democrats. They don't even talk to each other anymore. It's maybe the worst it's been in a long, long time. How should these folks be optimistic? How should our children be optimistic that Social Security is going to be around when they won't even eat together?
I don't know if I can give you a short answer on that because it's a big problem. And you're right, they're not talking to each other. Fortunately, I'll try to make this brief. The last time the Congress faced a shortfall, like we're looking at 10 years from now, we had 6 months to fix it. 6 months, not 10 or 11 years. But there were members on both sides that had, I'll call it political courage. Tip O'Neill, Democrat, President Reagan, Bob Dole, Senator Howard Baker. They had real political courage and they figured out a way to change the law so that 6 months became about 50 years. And I'm hoping that soon, not 6 months before we run out of the trust fund in 2034, but much sooner than that, there'll be leaders in the Congress that will have that kind of courage.
You know, it's interesting. You can't say this, Max, but I can. And I've covered politics for more than 35 years. And one thing I know about politicians, they fear a lot of things, but what they fear the most are old people. Because old people vote, and they know that. And so that is my reason for optimism that they'll fix it, because they know if they don't, their coveted titles will disappear.
So
you're just supposed to say you're right, John, and then we can move on.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And what I would ask you to do one thing that I think is really important. And we're starting the campaign season, big election coming up. We always talk about the most important election ever in history. This one is really, really important. There'll be a lot of candidates running for office. I meet a lot of people, and when I tell them what I do, everybody, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Conservative, The response is, I'm for that. I'm for Social Security. That is not good enough as an answer. You know, I don't accept that. I ask, well, where are you for raising the retirement age? Are you for cutting the Social Security cost of living adjustment? I ask them questions that go past, I'm just for that.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to go through some of your questions, and whoever wants to answer is fine. You think it's the best person to answer this. I receive veterans disability each month. Will Social Security affect my payment or vice versa?
Yeah, so if you're receiving your VA benefits, the Social Security should not be reduced, okay? Should not be affected. However, there's two types of disability, okay? There's your regular Social Security disability insurance, and then there's also the supplemental security insurance. So that's a low income, low resources, sort of acts like a welfare program. So any money you receive will affect your Social Security, more SSI, I should say. So hopefully that answers that particular question, because it's two separate programs still under the umbrella of Social Security.
Great. How does Ticket to Work work? Do benefits change at the age 65?
Okay, so Ticket to Work is for individuals who are actively already receiving Social Security disability or, again, supplemental security income. What happens is that you get to join this program to say, hey, I want to try to go back to work, be able to contribute to society. So that program does resumes. They could do anything from hooking you up with the best employment network to the abilities that you're capable of doing. Once you actually sustain that job, you will still have to report that information back to Social Security to see, does my wages affect my disability payments? Okay, so it's available and it's out there for you. Don't be afraid to utilize these programs. We're trying to get you back on your feet. And if you cannot, absolutely cannot, that's the reason why Social Security is available to you. And maybe Carolyn might have something to add.
Well, I think there are needs for some changes with that program. It's my hope that future commissioners will take a look at the obstacles to people returning to work and see if we can make it a little bit easier for people to be able to use that program.
Okay, how are benefits affected if I'm still working when I apply?
Well, you have to be more specific. Are we talking about retirement or disability? So if you're actively on retirement payments with Social Security, you can't work more than $21,240 a year, right? That's if you are close to 62, a little bit over. But once you hit your full retirement age, depending on the year that you were born, that limit goes up to about $51,000. Once you hit your full retirement age, there's absolutely no limits at all whatsoever. You can work as much as you want. However, taxes is a completely different thing. If you're actively on disability benefits or SSI disability, again, those numbers are very different, okay? So if you're referring to disability, you have to look out for what we call the trial work period month and the extended period eligibility. Those are available, and I actually have it available in my pamphlets, just in case you're referring to disability rather than retirement, what I just mentioned in detail.
Good to know. That's good
Could you
to know.
review that
$21,240 a year if you're actively receiving retirement payments and still want to work. But if you happen to go over, it's not the end of the world, because for every $2 you go over, $1 will be decreased from your Social Security. So it still might behoove you to still work part-time and still collect your Social Security payments. That's really your prerogative, whether you are okay with those reductions or not if you happen to go over.
And can you do the next one up then? I mean, what age does the 50 kick in?
Oh, the 51,000 kicks in the year of your full retirement age, but you haven't reached your full retirement age yet. So let's say you looked at your full retirement age chart and you have to be 66 years old. And then let's say your birthday is in September, that's when you turn 66. So all we're saying is from January to August, you're allowed to earn that 51 some odd $1,000. Then in September, because that is the month of your full retirement age, there's absolutely no limits from that point on. So the year is the only time period where it jumps up from the 21 to the 50 some odd $1,000. I apologize. I might be off by a few $1,000s with the 50 some odd $1,000. I'm not sure why I don't have that in my head.
Is any of that in any of the pamphlets you have?
Absolutely.
Okay,
It's actually
so
in the pamphlets
She
today.
has that.
Mhm.
She had more pamphlets in front of her than I've ever seen in my life, so she has the information. If my benefits are reduced, do I ever get that money back?
If there is, for what reason?
If your benefits are reduced because you decided to take it at 62, 63 before your full retirement age, this is a permanent reduction. The idea is that you get to receive your payments early and you get to receive it longer period of time. The only reason why you might be able to get it back is that you actively continue to work. And then for that time period that you did work, you actually didn't receive a Social Security payments. And that's when we adjust it one time during your full retirement age to make sure that those money that you didn't receive while you went over the limits are actively kind of put back into your account. So it's like a readjustment.
You got the next question.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was the gist of it, but my Social Security account should definitely tell you that information as well. But just with a quick show of hands, who has an online My Social Security account right now?
Please get that. That is so important. All the facts that I've given you tonight about women's benefits, minority benefits, children's benefits, there's a fact sheet on all of that on that My Social Security site, SSA.gov.
The My Social Security account, if you go to ssa.gov, and we just call it a My Social Security account, we promise you it's all over our website, very easy to locate.
Sends you your income for your year. It gives you calculations on your benefits. It's really, really helpful.
Maybe I missed this, Sandy, but there was a question here about this. How much are you penalized if you apply early?
About 30%.
So it varies across the board, but if you're born in 1960 or later, you took it at age 62, the max reduction is 30% if you take it on your own retirement, 35% if you take it on a spouse's account. If you happen to be born prior to that period, the reduction is slightly lower, but let's, for math's sake, 30%, okay?
And it's really a personal decision. You need to have the calculation so you will know. My brother decided to wait until he reached full retirement. He didn't live to collect his benefit. He died at 65, and at that time, he would have had to be 67 to get full retirement. So you really have to make your calculations based on your health issues, your economic issues, etc.
Go ahead, sir.
You should be.
The last 15 years, I put 38 years in already.
He said he had 38 years.
What?
He said he had 38 years of employment, but only getting paid for 15.
I'm pretty sure you got misinformation because the
Yeah.
calculations are accurate. We choose the highest 35 years of your earnings. The information gets calculated for us automatically on our system. So you can actually gather that information yourself on your My Social Security account and see all the years. And we can actually show you the information that we have used.
Why do you go into an office and have to recalculate?
You're welcome to walk into our office and get that information. Okay, yeah, but highest 35 years is the active formula that we use.
Sounds like someone made a mistake, right? So and people do make mistakes, but yeah, so go visit Annie, she'll get you straightened out. Do you guys have any advice on when people should apply for benefits and how to apply?
That was the one I just talked to you about. It really is a personal decision. What you need to do first is calculate what you would receive at a specific age, and then what you would receive at full retirement. Then you need to think about your personal circumstances, your longevity expectations, your health issues, et cetera. In some instances, people just need the money. I just talked to someone and I was trying to encourage them to wait because I thought that it would be in their best interest. This was a relative, so I was advising them. If they'd been a non-relative, I probably would have sent them Social Security. But the decision was he needed the money. He absolutely had to have an income. And so he decided he would take early retirement. He was so close to the regular retirement age that I was trying to encourage him to wait. But he felt that based on his ability to take care of his family, et cetera, he needed that extra money now. And so he took the Social Security benefit.
Yeah, and Carolyn mentioned something that's very important. These calculators are all available to you. They're just online. And then as long as you have your statement, you get to calculate, hey, what if I wanted to wait 69 in 2 months, 62 in 2 months? It tells you exactly down to that dollar so you can make an informed decision. Can I get benefits on my spousal benefits? So that's all available to you. If you happen to be a government employee and you're going to be subject to the windfall elimination provision or government pension offset, we always have at least one in the audience. Those calculators are available to you, okay? So if you don't know, now you know.
May I raise an issue that's usually not talked about, but that I'm struggling with the family with now? And that is, in our community, we tend to have people who live with their partners but don't marry. And you're not entitled to Social Security if you're not married and if you do not live in a common law state. And Maryland is not a common law state. Now, I don't know about Nevada. So if you live with an individual and this woman lives with her partner for 20 years, and why they didn't take the formal step of getting married, but then they're not eligible for Social Security. So I say that to you in the event that you're in that situation or you have friends who are.
So, John, I wanted to ask Annie a question.
Max, there are people here who have
I
real
know.
questions.
They're gonna want to hear this answer too.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure.
Okay.
In Washington now, we're kind of stuck on getting funding to run the government, right? We're going to run out of time in 2 days, and there's a lot of questions about Social Security benefits. And what I've been hearing is benefits checks will still go out because so much of that is automated. But if you need to talk to Annie or people if you have questions and you want to go into an office and talk to someone to get answers, that could be a problem. And I wonder how you're preparing for that. Are you preparing for that?
Well, see, and that's the reason why it's all written in the contingency plan, because it's very specific to say that, it's critical workload. Critical workload is to get the American people their money. So if you do not get your check that particular day because you forgot to change your address, like, we are still open to make sure that we get that person their payments. So there are critical workloads that we have to work on. Yeah,
Okay.
but I can't say, let's say a person came in, I can't think of, like, maybe you just wanted to have a benefit verification. That does not deter you from actually receiving any payments. We may not be able to provide that service for you because it's not considered critical at the moment.
I see.
So just some quick examples.
So
Yeah.
while it has been, just 1 second, ma'am, while it's been a great honor to have you here, Carol, this is in my DNA. It's Nevada, not Nevada. Okay, all right.
So that's why we know she's not a local. Yes, that's, yeah.
I get-
I need to do that correctly. So
I get
I'm
my,
glad you did that.
Carolyn, I get my benefits reduced by 30% if I don't say anything. So that's how it works. Go ahead.
I'm glad you corrected me.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I've tried that too. Thank goodness I have Social Security. See, we'll take that back.
Is there an easier solution just to go online rather than trying to call? Or what's
It's
the solution?
probably much easier. And I know people have called. You're on hold, right? Yeah. No, it's very frustrating. And the same is true, and you know this, with the toll-free number of Social Security. The Social Security has been trying for a long time to be more responsive on the toll-free number, but still, you have to wait a long time. You're on hold a very long time before you can talk to a real person.
There really is a focus in government on customer experience. We've had some degradation in our services because we're underfunded.
Yeah.
We've had the pandemic, and so many individuals have not returned to the office. We knew that we were going to have an exodus of senior employees retiring and agencies that have not been able to replace them. I'm not trying to excuse that. I think we need to provide that feedback to Medicare and see if they can do something about it. But I would tell you that the federal employees are dedicated to serving you guys, and they're really struggling right now to do that.
You know, Carolyn, what bothers me so much when I hear members of Congress attack Social Security Administration and the Medicare program because they are not responsive enough, and they're hearing from their constituents. I was on hold for an hour and a half to talk to someone. Give them enough money to run the program. Most of the funding for Social Security comes out of the Social Security fund tax itself. It's not out of general revenue. So you're paying not only to get your benefits, but to get adequate service, and that isn't happening all the
And
time.
when I first came to Social Security, we had 70,000 employees. We're down to 64,000 now at the time when we know the baby boomers are retiring. The math doesn't work. The agency needs more funding.
Yep.
So it's almost 7:30. We got to, let me just ask a couple more quick questions, and then I'm going to bring the boss back up here to finish things up. If Social Security is not addressed, would the 20% cut affect all retirees or just new applicants?
No, it would, it's my understanding, it would be across the board. Your benefits would be reduced by 20%. And I can't imagine a member of Congress going back home to the old people, as you put it, and say, yeah, I didn't do anything, and it's too bad that your benefits. You know, when the COLA was zero, the cost of living adjustment, 3 out of the last 11 years, the COLA was zero because the formula is flawed. Seniors were up in arms because they weren't getting even a small increase. Imagine a 20% reduction in benefits.
Was saying old people politically incorrect on my part?
I was quoting you.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I'm one of you. All right, can my daughter who has lupus receive benefits and work?
I don't know what, you know.
Well, if they're on lupus, like it really depends on our disability determination services. We're not medical examiners, and that's why we outsource it to the state. And that division is called Department of, sorry, I just said it right now. Yeah,
would have
the
to
Disability
determine-
Determination Services, yeah. So if they are considered disabled, then yeah, your child would be on benefits, given that they had sufficient credits or possibly on SSI benefits once again. And can they work? Yes, depending on the program. The program allows an individual to return to work, but within reason and a limit of how much they can work. So if you want to know the details, like we have the information, I just have to give you the limits of how much that is and when she gets approved and how long she's been on benefits. That all plays into what she can earn.
So this covers a bunch of questions here, but if you go to ssa.gov, there's a calculator there where people can put in age and figure out what their benefits are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so go to ssa.gov. It's the easiest URL to remember in the world, right?
Yes.
You know, we have been talking, the final question here, we have been talking about old people, Max, but what one person wondered, and I think this is a great question, does SSA work with schools to educate young people about SS retirement savings and the rest of it? Does that happen?
Absolutely, yeah. So as a public affairs specialist, that is what I do. And just even last month, I went to an elementary school to do
That's
that,
great.
to make sure that people get the information. Because kids at a very young age can possibly get Social Security benefits. They might have a disability. Just because they're not physically disabled, they can have mental disabilities, some things that cannot be seen. So know that, you know, all walks of life are available, and we want to make sure to educate the parents, you know, and young adults as young as age 18 on. So yeah, I don't limit myself to an age group.
That's great. So I'm going to bring Maria back up in just a second. I just want to say thank you for your great questions. You guys should applaud yourself. And this panel did not disappoint. They were to the point. I think they answered your questions, and it's nice of them to take time out on a Thursday night to come out here. So give them a round of applause as well. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. You're going to miss out on the raffle and the prizes. I gather they're giving away a Lamborghini. Is that correct? Oh, did I have that right? All right, listen, it's been a pleasure spending some time with you. You should, if you want to really know what's going on this and other issues, you go to the NevadaIndependent.com. It's the best place for news in Nevada, and my email address is there, and you can email me and yell at me or tell me how great I am, whatever you want to do. But it's been a real pleasure, a real honor to be with folks of this caliber here. So thank you very much. Okay.
I hope you let me come back even though I said Nevada. I know it's Nevada now.
And thank you, John. You did not disappoint. So I have a small thank you, and then we'll go to the raffles. So John, for you.
Thank you.
And then I want you to pull some raffle cards.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, how nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And since John knows all the lucky numbers, here are the gift prizes. We have 5 gift cards, 4 for $50 and 1 for $100. When we call your number, raise it high, and we will have someone bring you that card. So we'll pull for the $450 first. So Vanna?
Anna, I've been called a lot worse. All right, I'll read these off, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's the first one for the $50. Oh my God, let me show you how old I am. Hang on. I'm gonna read this way. 3130461.
3130461.
Anyone got that one?
Maybe that person left.
You just gotta keep going, I guess.
You want us?
They lost $50.
3130484.
84?
Yep.
84.
No, you gotta keep going.
Really? They left.
And they left early.
See, this wasn't in my contract. 3130513.
13?
Mm-hmm.
13. No?
Somebody got it? Okay.
That was.
Want me to repeat it? 3130513. All right, there's one. All right. To be honest with you, I thought Max had taken all of them. 3130498.
498.
Don, you reading those right.
I guess I just had to do the last 3, right? 509. All right, I got another one.
We still work. Oh, yeah.
That's 2 of the 50 we have so far? All right. 448. All right, there we go.
We'll just wait. Yeah.
508. Anyone have 508?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's all in our contingency. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not afraid.
I was glad
And the grand prize.
Saturday because
The grand
they said
prize.
Andy
Grand
Ashton
prize
would be
now.
effective Sunday. They won't have enough people to deal with.
478 for the $100.
Yeah, security.
All right.
So thank you. So on behalf of ARP and the National Council to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. As John said, this is a Thursday night. Traffic is not good. To our esteemed panelists, thank you so much. Thank you. Have a safe drive home.